Hey, good morning, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know that you could be anywhere else in the world right now, but you're here with me, and I really appreciate it. For those of you who are just listening to me, I am literally recording, laying in my bed, just woke up, just went to the restroom. That's all I've done today. And it's around like 10 a.m. right now, and it's Wednesday, January 16th, 2019. So if you didn't get the chance to check out my last episode, I basically just talked about, what did I talk about last night? I talked about just still being that same little kid. Still that kid. Even right now, I was just kind of laying here. I'm like sprawled out in my bed. And like I'm looking at my walls. And it gives me like a very familiar feeling of when I was younger. Of course, my walls were so much more cooler. I had every poster on my wall. But I just had that same feeling of just kind of like laying here and just like looking around and thinking and just like kind of taking in the morning, because there wasn't cell phones back then. Like there was, but like I'm like really thinking back to like 10 years old, 11 years old. Like I didn't have to like roll over and pick up my phone and then like you're on it like this all day. You know what I mean? Like and just looking at your phone and seeing what's on it. Like you literally just had to sit there, lay there at least, and just like, oh, this is life, you know? And anyways, that's what I'm doing. So today I wanted to talk to you all about this thing that I posted last night, and I was like, damn, like I did that for myself. So I made up this own quote, and it says, "The thing about light is that when it flickers, everyone tends to notice." And I say that because one, it's hard to be light. It's hard. Light to me is just being yourself. It's just still being optimistic even when things aren't always the best. Being light is picking yourself back up, um, especially when you have no one else to help you. Being light is is being love, is being kindness, is being gracious. And I am not the brightest light in the box. I can tell you that. But I know that I have elements of it, and I know that I have aspects of it. And the sad part about it is that I'm not the brightest light in the box, but I shine pretty bright where I'm at, you know? And that to me just like makes me so sad, because like if I'm not the brightest in the box already, but I'm bright in where I'm at, I'm just like, man, how is everybody else's hearts? And it just makes me so sad, because we just have a lot of work to do. And it kind of makes me think of a quote that I posted last night. And this has nothing really to do with the podcast, but just kind of thinking about why people may not choose to be light is because the quote post said, what did it say? It said, it just occurred to me that people are afraid to heal because they've centered their whole identity around their trauma. And if they were to actually heal, then they wouldn't know who to be without their trauma. And like people were liking that and was like, damn, that hit hard. And it's real. Like I say that my trauma, I don't have a lot of trauma. Thank the Lord for that. But there are some things that have happened to me that I still let affect me to this day. You know, not heavily, not crazy, you know. Even like coming out, you know what I mean? Like coming out is a process all on its own. And depending on people's processes and their coming out stories, it's just like, damn, like some people still hold on to that. And this just don't be. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird. I'm processing it right now. I don't have all the answers. But that's what I really wanted to talk to y'all about, was like I've literally been the same kid that I've always been. I've just grown, evolved, etc. But what I wanted to talk to y'all about is, speaking of my trauma or my experiences or my life, this podcast has been me healing, and you all know that. But what I wanted to say is, like, I've been my own counselor. And to be completely honest and completely vulnerable with all of you, I've been in the process of looking for a counselor because we get 3 free sessions from our EAP program, Employee Assistance Program. So if you work in an awesome company, make sure to check those out. Usually those are free. And this is actually a second time around that I've had the opportunity to use them. It's only 3 sessions for the year, but sometimes you just need to talk to a professional that has heard thousands of stories or hundreds of stories. They've done the work, they've studied it, and it's just, to be completely honest, like, humans are humans and we're all super unique, but there's things that happen to us that aren't unique. And there's things that we react to them in a certain way or respond to them in a certain way that isn't unique. And so for me, it's like, I wanted to go to a professional just to share my story with them, like those traumatic experiences that I've had, so they could tell me like what I've done as a human being and how it's affected me, and what I can do differently. There's just a couple things I can't quite figure out on my own, because it's just such a gray area for me. I'm like, man, I don't know. But and so I just want to be able to get some professional help in that. And it's not, and I just want us to like reevaluate like mental health and like getting help and counseling. Like, help is help, and it doesn't matter what level it is. I definitely think that if you're at a high level, like, get help, but for those of us who, have our stuff together and like, life is good, and there's nothing really heavy on us, and we're able to pay our bills, and like whatever the case, like, that doesn't mean that we don't go through things either, and it doesn't mean that we don't need help also, you know what I mean? So I just want us to take that into consideration, just like, yo, like, it's for everybody. And it's not easy to extend a hand, you know what I mean? But there's so many resources out there where we could do the research ourselves. We literally have everything we need in this device right here. And like I said, as crazy it is, I've literally have been counseling myself through this podcast. Just been counseling myself. That's all it's been. What do you do when you see a counselor, a therapist, or anything? They just let you talk, right? And they're just like, okay, this and that, and connecting all the dots and like helping you out with that. And unfortunately, the case for me is I'm not able to afford a counselor at this time, or a therapist. So next best thing is to make a podcast. But it's giving me the opportunity to talk out my life and my experiences, and be able to connect the dots myself, because I think we have to recognize, like, we're smart human beings. Like, we're not the smartest, we're not using all of our brain, but ultimately we're smart. And whatever we've gotten ourselves into, we could get ourselves out. Whatever past experiences we've had, we can work through ourselves. And I just want us to believe in ourselves more, and our abilities and our talents and our skills. Like, don't feel so helpless, like, just kind of think about the things that take away our peace, like we talked about in the last video. Like, think about the things that take away our peace and start doing the deep work to get that out of our minds. Our brains are so powerful, and it's so important to keep it as clear as possible. It's just thinking about a child. Like, you don't want a child to be tainted. You don't want them to be hanging around the wrong people. You don't want them to be watching the wrong TV shows or inappropriate TV shows for their age. You don't want them listening to certain kinds of music. You don't want them reading certain kinds of books. So think of yourself as a child, and think of that kind of sponge-likeness for yourself too. Like, what kind of people you hang out with? What kind of books are you reading? What kind of music are you listening to? What kind of movies are you watching? What kind of TV shows are you watching? Like, think about everything that you consume. Think about the people you follow. You think about everything you consume. Would you ever let a child put that into their brain? Probably not. So think of yourself as that, and just recognize again, like, we can sort through our own problems and our own trauma and things like that. And if we need help, go get that help. You know what I mean? But just know that everything that we need and that we want is already within ourselves. Let's not from an outside source, like followers or friends or even family, as hard as it is for some people. Even family, it's not from them. And so I just want y'all to recognize, like, it's not easy. I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones, that I didn't allow for certain things to become my identity. You know, I didn't, even just being a little gay kid, I wasn't like, that's just a part of me. That's just a slither of who I am. I'm like, being queer is literally the last thing on my list of my identity. Like, last thing. Like, it's a part of it. I'm not gonna say it's not there, but it's not the main part of who I am. There's so many other things that I am besides that, you know? And the traumatic experiences that I've had, I'm not allowing it to be a part of my identity. If anything, I acknowledge it. I'm aware of it. It's there. I'm still working through it. I'm getting help for it. But I don't maneuver through the world saying, woe is me. This is what has happened to me, you know? And I encourage you to just know that you're not your past. We're not our past. We're not our trauma. We're not the people that have hurt us. We're not any of those things. Don't get me wrong. Those experiences are so valid. I don't want you to throw them away and pretend like they never. That is not what I want you to do. I want you to just acknowledge them, be aware of them, work through them, unpack that baggage, you know, and then just, if you feel like it's a part of your identity and that experience is important to you and how you maneuver through the world, go ahead, fold that up, put that into your luggage. That's okay. You know what I mean? But for the most part, the luggage that we're carrying around in our lives doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to be there and can be tossed and put somewhere else. So just go donate it. Go do something with it. But other than that, y'all, that's all I have to say. My arm is just getting tired. I hope that you got something from this podcast, but if not, that's okay. Again, I just had to realize, like, I've been counseling myself through this, and it's important for me to still be that little kid and to still keep my mind right and to still keep it clear of clutter and other voices besides my own. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your time and attention. If you want to follow me on social media, you can at K.Short. Other than that, tune into the next episode for another lesson, realization, and experience from my daily life.